So I kind of figured today we'll go over just basically a lot of functions, as they are probably the most used thing within Excel, obviously. So I'm going to try giving you guys some tips and tricks along with just a whole list of them. I have 5, 7, 8 examples here. Obviously, there are way more than that. All of them can be located in the Formulas tab. Um, but honestly, I don't think I ever go in here, mainly because I know what I'm looking for, but other people might not know what they're looking for. So the ones that are mostly used are going to be auto sum and then the recently used if you use like one a whole bunch. But I will also be showing you some other ones and how to access some ones that maybe you don't know about that Excel does know. So first, we're going to go over count ifs. So basically, count if is if the criteria is met, count it. So for this first example, we have this list of stuff here, and I just made up some random data here. And so this first criteria that I'm going to be making up is less than 10 and then greater than 20. So it's going to be counting from this what is all in between 10 and 20. So all functions start with an equal sign, and then since I already know what function I'm going to be using, I'm going to start typing in countif, and then I can hit tab to select it, and now we can see that it comes up with the entire function and what it all needs. Another way to view it is to hit the insert function right here, and that brings up a dialog box, which can also be very helpful because it kind of gives you what each of the criterias for this are meant to be. So for this, it's the range, so what range we're looking to find. And then the criteria is we are looking for less than 10 and also greater than 20. Now, that might work. Otherwise, we might have to do count ifs, which would be multiple criteria, which I'm fairly sure I would have to do. Yep. So I'm going to go down to count ifs, which means that there's just going to be multiple criteria. So, and then I'm going to go back into this function here. And now it can give me a criteria range 2. So I'm going to do this. And it's going to ask for the criteria range again because it wants to make sure that you're doing everything right. I'm going to do greater than 20. And it still doesn't like me. I swear it was working before. I swear to God it was.
Is that because none of your numbers are greater than 20?
That would be it, yes. because I have my symbols mixed up, I think.
Because you want to count if it's under 20 and above 10.
Yep. There we go. Thank you. I had my symbols mixed up because, yay. Greater than 20 and less than 10, or less than 20. So then we can also do the same thing for greater than or equal to blue. I really like this function because it does recognize that we can use the greater than and equal stuff. So I'm going to do criteria range 1, put it in this, and do hopefully the correct one this time. Greater than or equal to 10. And then for the second range, we're going to highlight these ones and type in blue. And hopefully greater than or equal to 10. I probably have the symbol the wrong way again, don't I? There we go. So we have this one, and this one. And for the last one, I'll just do count ifs again. Click on this button here. Do criteria range, so that, again, that's this. equal to 20, criteria range 2, this one again here, and then blue. So then, as you probably noticed, I did select this cell down here, so that way, if you decided to select an entire column of stuff, you can continue to add to them, and these will automatically update for you as you continue to go down. Moving on, I'm going to go over counts and more of the counts. These ones aren't based on multiple criteria. So basically what I'm going to be trying to do is count how many numbers are here. Obviously, when you're using this, you might have way more than way more data than this. But first, by highlighting these, you can actually see down here in the bottom right-hand corner that it actually does give you the count of how many there is. But if you need it for a function, and then it's the parameters for that is literally just where it is, and you can have as many as you want. So if I went back into here and selected value 2 and did these, it would also add those to it as well. But we're going to leave it at this. Now, obviously, this said 12 over here before, but it's showing 8. That's because count only shows numbers, but not these x's that I put in here. So for that, we would do count A, which counts everything. And then we can also do count if, which, as I somewhat exemplified before, it only does one criteria. And if I did it right, that might be helpful as well. I'm going to go into here just to make sure everything's right. And then again, we can use the less than and equal, less than and greater than signs. So nothing's lower than 10, so it comes up with 0, and we can always change that. Back over to here, all these are greater than 10. Now, I'm going to butcher how to say this every single time, concatenate. It might be useful for some mailing lists where one column is a first name, or as I exemplify here, a city name, and then the next one is state or last name. So I have my example here of equal concatenate L4, which is the jack, and then you have to put the space in here, because if I take out this space here, it doesn't put the space in there. Who would have guessed, right? So, I forgot to put the other comma in. There we go. And for down here, I also put in the comma that's within this Fond du Lac, comma, Wisconsin. So then I'm just going to quick do one more tab, and then I'm going to go back up here and move this off to the side so that way I can click this one, text 2, space, and there we are. And I'm just going to autofill that down, but this one's different, so I'm going to autofill that one down. And again, this button is probably my best friend at this point, because if I click on this one, it says exactly what it's going to be doing, join several text strings into one string, and then it kind of gives an example, and then it also shows you what it's going to be producing at the end, as well as over here. This one I did not know about before I started researching a little bit about what other people just know about Excel. And what this is doing is it's calculating how many days it's been. So for this one, I'm going on vacation August 1st and coming back on August 30th. So that's a total of 29 days. But you can also calculate work days gone. So that's using the function days, and then this one's using net work days. So I'm just going to type in days here, hit tab, and for whatever reason, it decides that they wanted the end date first, in the parameters. So I'm gonna, oh, might help if I click the right one. Start date would then be this one, and then I'm just hitting enter, and it shows that this is 4 days gone here. And then this one for net work days, click on that button, it starts out with the start date. So now it actually goes in order. And then there is also an option to add holidays for the work days ones. So that way you can add in Christmas and stuff that days that wouldn't be working. And then there is also one more function that I was putting in here. It's called the now, and it doesn't take in any parameters, but you still have to have the equals and the parentheses there. And it will constantly show the current date and time. And as I'm going forward, it will, anytime I really click anything, it will constantly refresh. So if I went like this, it refreshed. It honestly, when I was playing around with it and I was doing something over here, this kept changing and I was just like, what the heck is going on over here? So yeah, the lazy temp over here has been gone for 198 days, so we missed 143 work days. And then, let's see, is there any questions so far? I know I'm probably talking really fast.
No, I don't have any.
All right. The next thing.
It.
Say again?
I think I understand it.
Good. And of course, if you have any questions that you want to ask me outside, you guys haven't been hesitant to ask me, which I really appreciate, because I actually love doing this stuff too. So the next thing is something that I've done for multiple documents while I've been here, and is quite useful when you don't want human hands getting over data. So I did this for Menomedia for the billing, so that way the formulas that we were typing in there, nobody could accidentally like fat finger in and hit enter all of a sudden and mess with one of the formulas, messing up the entire thing. So, and it's called locking cells. So let's say I don't want people touching my cells over here with our days. It could be anything. So first I'm going to go over to the review, and right now it is an unprotected sheet. This will always show the opposite of whatever it is. So when I click on protect, you can choose what people have access to it when it is protected. So if you select, if you checkmark select lock cells and select unlock cells, that means you're giving them access to the entire sheet. But as I had it, where I only had select unlock cells, people would not be able to access the locked cells without unprotecting the sheet first. So if somebody did have to go in and change it, they could. And there's also this wonderful thing up here where you can set a password to it. So that way, if you have it protected and you emailed it out to a client or something, and they wanted to see like what your formula was behind the scenes, they wouldn't have access to it unless you gave them the password to do so. So I'm going to click OK, and actually my entire thing right now is locked, and I'll show you how to unlock certain cells. Right now it's all locked, like I cannot click anywhere until I click this unprotect sheet, and now I can click places. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and unlock all of the cells. And there's two ways to open up the prompt to do this. My favorite way is Control-1, and that brings up the format cells thing. Or you can go over to Home, and then this button here next to Number. And it just opens up the format cells again. And then we go over to Protection, and then I'm going to make sure that they are unlocked. And actually, Excel kind of yells at you for this because they want all the cells to be protected, and that's what these green arrows are. And if I hover over this, they all say unprotected formula, which is most of the time a no-no. So again, I'm going to go back to this over here, click on that little button there, protection, locked, and now those cells will be locked once I hit protect sheet. So as long as this one isn't unchecked there. So I'm going to hit OK, and now I cannot click on these cells here. And if I try to put my green box around it, it does not access it whatsoever. So they can't even see what formula is in there to begin with. Does that make sense, or should I go over it again?
Makes sense to me.
Excellent.
Yep.
Awesome. I've used that plenty of times both here and at school, just so that way I don't get into my own little mess. Then my next example is some sum ifs. So I just came up with some random numbers here, and then I used their sales number for Adam, Jordan, Paul, Dean, and Jim. And what the sum if is doing, it is, if I open this up here, first it's checking in the range of something. So it's just checking a criteria and then adding up whatever's next to that criteria. So the range is, or it might be actually easier if I went like this, there we go, is B34 through B43. So it's looking at this number, seeing if it is equal to 479, the criteria, and then it's adding up whatever's next to it in this range. So if I do equal sum if, and then I'm going to open up the box here again. So I want it to look in this range for a criteria of Jordan's number 223, and then the sum range of the actual dollars here. Hit OK, and we can do that for all of them. And again, there is also a sum ifs, if I can type today. There we go. Where you can have multiple criteria. So, did not mean to do that. You can have as many criteria as you want. Not that you would ever need it, but just so you know that it's there. So I'm just going to go back to sum if. Paul's number is 424. First I should put in the range. 424, comma. All the parameters are separated by commas, if you have not known that. If you type it in like this. But if you just keep going at this button, you do not need to insert the commas there. Then another one of the most used ones is an if statement, where if you haven't guessed from the sum ifs and the count ifs, it just checks a criteria. So right now I have a projected and an actual sales for Kyle's Awesome Company. And as I have it in an example here, it's checking to see if this number is less than this number. And if the value is true, it says above. Actually, that might be backwards, but yep, that is definitely backwards. So I'm gonna, there we go. Go back into here. So then, if L34, the projected, is greater than the M34, which is the actual, it will display above. Else, it will do the below. And we can change these to whatever we want. And you can even leave them blank as well. So for whatever reason, maybe you just want to see if something's false. What I would do is I would make it so that way it shows up as false, and if we set this to a higher, it just shows up as a 0. If you don't want it to be a 0 that shows up there, you can just do a double quotation mark, so that way nothing would show. And we can do that for all these here. So I might go back in here and go below, above. That way you can see which ones are above and which ones are below just at a glance without having to do simple math. The next one, again, I did not learn this one until very recently, but I think it has some very helpful implications. This one's called choose, and it allows you to pick from basically a drop-down menu what it's choosing. So I have the function in this cell right here in yellow, and it's choosing in between these three options, and then it's looking to see which selection I put in this one. So if I open up this, the index number is what we type to change what option we're choosing. And then value 1, 2, and 3, you can have more than 3, but 1, 2, and 3 is what we're choosing from. So if I would change this to 1, it now chooses 5%, which then changes my little markup system that I have here. So I have a material cost, and then I have a total cost, which I have set up as this 58 times the 0.05 or whatever's in this cell here. So if, let's say that internally we were saying our markup is really low right now at 5%, so maybe we should change it to 18%. So now we can simply do that to choose, or to see what sort of, or what our new profit is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again down here, just so that way I can go through the steps here. So equal choose, and I'm hitting tab to do that. Going to click on my button here. My index number is going to be this one here, and then my values are going to be that, and that. And hopefully these are set up correctly. And right now it's saying hashtag value because it's not finding anything in my green cell here. So if I type in 4, it's still going to do hashtag value.